This is the inside of the 2021 Benimar Tessoro 486. If I firstly move to the main control panel just here, we can turn the 12 volt on by firstly pressing this button here, followed by this one. Once we've done this, we can turn the water pump on and off just here. Water pump needs to be on to be able to get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and fill the boiler if it's been drained down. We then have awning light on and off, and then buttons along the bottom mainly give us information. So this first one here will give us an indication of the condition of the leisure battery. This one here will give us a condition of the vehicle battery. This one here will let us know how much water is in the fresh tank. When the waste tank needs to be emptied, a red light will begin to flash next to the symbol just here. When the fresh water gets low, this amber light will flash to indicate, and if either of the batteries were low, again you will get flashing indications. This button just here just controls the illumination of the control panel, so it acts like a dimmer switch. This one here is letting us know that we are currently connected up to mains electricity, and this one here will illuminate when we start the engine of the motorhome to indicate that the alternator is charging the batteries. These two buttons just here need to be on for this to be able to be shown though. If we now drop to the Truma control panel for the heating and hot water system, you'll see at the moment it's just indicating the time, and again it's letting us know that we have mains electricity with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. If I now press the button, you will see we now get a series of icons, and as I rotate this button they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first one just here, this one is for your heating. So rotate, pick the temperature you would like it inside the motorhome, and then push the button to store it in. You'll now see a flame has appeared above. That flame there represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is in operation, that flame will flash, and it will continue to flash until the temperature has been achieved. If I now click again and move to the second icon, this one here is for your hot water. Again, click, you'll see it's off. Rotate, we can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a temperature of about 40 degrees. If I rotate again, we can heat it in hot, which will give us a temperature of about 60 degrees. And if I rotate again, we can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession, or if you just want hot water very quickly. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off as it needs to use that power. And again, the symbol will continue to flash until the temperature has been achieved. If we now move along to the next icon, this one here is power source selection. So we are currently using, to run the heating and the hot water system, mains electricity using 2 kilowatts. If I rotate, I can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt if we're on a low amp site to try and avoid tripping. If we have both power sources available to us, we can run in dual fuel, so we can run on a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts, or a mixture of gas and mains at 1 kilowatt. Dual fuel again is very handy in the winter months if you want to get up to temperature really quickly. It will only use the gas as it is required. And then lastly, if we don't have main supply connected, we can solely run on gas. The last top icon here is the circulation fan for the heating. So at the moment it's in eco mode. We can turn it up to high. If we turn the heating off, we can also use it to just vent the motorhome as well. If we now drop to the lower icons, this one here is for a basic timer. Just click, select a start time and then an end time. And once that's all stored in, you then just select what you would like on within that time period. Once you've done that, timer off, timer on. If I now activate the timer icon will come up there, and now within that set time period, those settings would then apply. If I now return to it, I can now turn it back off again, and when we go back in, we can then alter it again. If we now move to the next icon, this one here is literally just to set the clock. And then lastly, we have a little picture of a spanner, which is the settings menu. We have offset in here, which is just for the thermostat, just here. So if you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly alter it. We have temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of the screen. 12 or 24-hour clock. Language. Index, more for the technicians, it just lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. Occasionally from time to time, these control panels will throw up error codes. They will usually be something relatively basic. So at the moment I'm running on mains supply. So if I ran outside and pulled the mains lead out, or if we tripped, it would indicate that it had lost mains power. And what you would get is a little warning triangle that appears here, and it will throw up a series of numbers and letters. If you then look in the manual or you Google it, it will then tell you what the problem is. 9 times out of 10, as long as you just rectify the problem, so you plug yourself back in, flick a trip switch up, etc., the error code will automatically disappear. If that's not the case, double click on the little warning triangle and then sometimes it will then flash up no error and disappear. If that still doesn't work, if you still have stuff running like I do at the moment, just turn them off because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If you've done that and still no joy, it's then just the good old-fashioned turn it off, turn it back on again. And the way we turn this completely off is just by holding this button in here until it says off. If you've then done that and still no luck, it is then do the factory reset. Sometimes they just need to be hard reset and then they run perfectly fine. This particular system can also be run via the Truma app. If you are going to use that, you need to download it onto your device. Make sure your Bluetooth is turned on and then launch it. And once you've launched it, it will then tell you to go to the iNet box. In this particular model, the iNet box is just above the fridge freezer. And it just sits here. It will ask you to come to it and push the Bluetooth button. It will then send out the Bluetooth signal and then you can then connect up to it. Once you've connected up, you will then be able to control your heating and your hot water locally via Bluetooth. If you want to control it from further afield, you can purchase yourself a pay-as-you-go SIM card, insert it where my finger is here, register it through the app, and then you can control your heating and your hot water from miles away. Whilst we're up here, we also have in here the digital amplifier for the television aerial, on and off just here. Control the boost just here. And then all you need to do is pop your TV on your bracket just here, plug it in up here, and then tune it in. If we now come to the bench seat just here and remove the cushions, and we now lift up here, you will see we have the Truma combi boiler just here. The drain valve for the boiler just sits here. These particular drain valves are automatic, so if the valve is shut and the temperature inside this motorhome drops below 3-4 degrees, the valve will automatically open and it will drop all the water out of the boiler to frost protect itself. If you are going to manually drain it down for winterization, all you need to do is make sure that the water pump is turned off, come to this blue diamond just here and twist it. When we twist it, a blue button is going to pop out the bottom, just where my finger is here, and now it's dropping all the water out of the boiler. To close the boiler back up, twist and push the button back in again. Make sure you've then got fresh water in your tank. Turn on the water pump and it will then begin priming the system back up again. If it has automatically drained, all that will happen is the blue button will just pop out at the bottom and all you need to do is push it back in to reset it. If it will not stay in, it's because it's too cold in the motorhome and you will need to turn your heating on to allow it to reset. The only time we are touching the blue diamond is when we are manually draining the system down. Beside the boiler we have storage, but we also have in here the battery charger just here. We then have the trip switches just here. So we have the individual MCBs just here, then we have the test button and the main RCD just there. So if something's not working on mains, just check to see if you've tripped in the van. Beside that, we then have the 12-volt fuses. So if something's not working on 12 volt, just check to see if you have blown a fuse. If you are putting too much stuff on the electric drop down bed and you put it up, if the motor goes under too much pressure, it will pop a fuse to protect itself. It is one of the yellow 20 amp fuses. Beside this, we then have the other part of the battery charger just here. This is what the solar panel is connected up to. It will give you a charge status just here. Do not need to do anything with the solar panel. It will just smart charge both leisure and vehicle battery as required, the same as the battery charger will. If I now move to the other side of the motorhome, and again I just remove the cushions and I now remove the cover, you will see we have the fresh water tank just here. We can gain access to it just here by twisting the black cap if we want to give the tank a good clean. The water pump just sits on top just here. To use both travel seats, this section here just needs to be dropped, and just tucked here we have two levers. Pull them both at the same time and it will then drop out of the way, allowing you to then have both of your travel seats. Tucked down just behind the driver's seat you will find a little switch just here. This is for the waste tank heater. As the waste tank is an external tank, if you are using the motorhome in cold climate and there's a danger of it freezing, you can pop this on to avoid any frost damage occurring to the tank. The freshwater tank does not have one in it, as we already know it's an internal tank. With the drop down bed, the control is just here. We can bring it down to a higher height and then use the ladder, which clips on just here, to get in and out. If you are using it in the higher height, there are nets that can be clipped up to the ceiling to avoid anybody falling out. If you are going to use it in the lowest position, you do need to remove the back cushions just here, and then you just continue to lower it down. I always suggest that the lower lights are turned off, as there is not a great deal of ventilation around them once they're virtually touching these lower cushions, and you may run the risk of scorching them. If the bed was to malfunction to the point that you cannot get it up or down, it can be manually wound just here. So we have the winding tool. It's just a 13mm socket. Just literally attach it to wind it up or down. We then have the hob just here. So we have the electric hot plate, which will work when hooked up to main supply. Light comes on to let you know it's in operation. Then we have the two gas rings. Push in, twist and push the igniter. Beneath that we then have the oven and the grill. Push in to the left for the oven, and then push in to the right for the grill. Beside that we then have the sink. Above it you will find the extractor fan. Light on and off just here, fan on and off just here. Cutlery drawer, and then just tucked above it you will find all the gas isolation taps for the motorhome. They're all labelled up, so we have the fridge, heating and hot water, cooker, barbecue point just here, all in the on position and can really stay like that. They are more for maintenance than anything else. If you do smell gas in the van, it's always much better to just go to the gas bottle and isolate it just there. Fridge freezer just here, on and off just here. This is an automatic model, so if I now select automatic by holding this square in, moving it across to the A, select. Next we have temperature control, select again. As you can now see, we're on A for auto. So now it will find the best power source it can for us. So because we're hooked up to main supply at the moment, it's put us onto mains electricity with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. If I now went outside and pulled the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas. If I then started the engine of the motorhome, it would then automatically put itself over to 12-volt maintain to keep itself cold whilst on the move. If I want to retake it back out of auto again, just hold the button and again arrow, so we can manually select mains, manually select 12-volt maintain and manually select gas. If there is a problem with anything, so let's just select 12-volt for the moment, you will get a red flashing light and it will also flash here. The reason it's doing this at the moment is because the engine of the motorhome isn't running. but to be fair, automatic is the easiest option to have it on. We then have the fridge and the large freezer box just there. And then we have the pull-out section just here. The microwave is situated here, and again will work when we're hooked up to main supply. Very simple to use. Select the power setting, so we have high right the way down to low, and then select the time and turn it on and off just here. Above my head just here we have the Omnivent fan. So before use, raise the roof vent just by twisting. Once you've done this, on and off in the centre, and then we have extraction and cooling, variable fan speed just by pressing. Do make sure that all vents are down for travel. We then have the washroom. So we have the shower just here. Do make sure that the shower screen is secured for travel. Basin. The light switch is just tucked underneath the vanity unit just there. The toilet, so the bowl does swivel to open to the cassette. Just slide the grey lever across, push the flush just here, and then close to the cassette again just here. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure nobody's left it open. Level indicator for the cassette just here, so it will rotate round to red when it needs emptying. And then we have the wardrobe just at the back here. We then have another wardrobe here. Beneath it we do have drop down steps, so you can get right into the back of it. We can then also gain access to the garage area just here. And then we have our pull-out storage rack. To make up the lower front bed, we do need to go to the garage and get the two bed make-up boards. The legs for the boards pop out just by slightly pushing down and then folding out, and then do this with the other one, and then the boards then rest on all of the plimps just there. As you can now see, they're both into position, and then it's just a matter of popping the cushions down. And then once all the cushions are in place, you can see you have a very large double bed. The insert that is provided, as you can see, just slots in here.